You ready for a deep dive into a case that'll send shivers down your spine?
Yeah, this one is pretty unsettling.
We're headed to Ridgeline, Colorado.
Small town.
Small town.
Picturesque.
Oh, absolutely. Picture perfect.
Mountains. But back on January 15th, 2008.
This is where things get dark.
It does. This is where everything changes for Ridgeline.
The disappearance of Elise Harper.
And she just vanished.
Right. And what makes this so different from a typical missing persons case is this 911 call.
Oh, yeah, that 911 call is just bone-chilling.
You can hear the fear in her voice.
Whispering.
Whispering like someone's watching her.
And then silence.
And then nothing.
Police arrive at the house. The doors are locked. No signs of forced entry. Pristine crime scene except for one thing.
Sketchpad.
The sketch pad left open on her desk.
With a drawing of this shadowy figure.
It's like something out of a nightmare.
It is. It's like she knew.
Yeah, what did she know?
Exactly. And that's what we're going to try to figure out today.
Unpack this mystery.
Unpack all the layers.
Right.
But before we get into all the theories...
We've got a lot of theories.
Oh, we got a lot to cover.
Right.
Let's paint a picture of Elise Harper.
Who was she?
What was her life like?
So she was an artist.
Known for those vibrant murals.
All over town.
All over Ridgeline.
People loved them.
Yeah, she had this way of bringing life.
Color
to everyday spaces.
Yeah, she was kind, generous.
But also very private.
Kept to herself.
Small circle of friends.
Really poured her energy into her art.
Her art was her life.
So not exactly living on the edge.
No, not really.
No obvious enemies.
Well, there was a boyfriend, Adam.
Right, but he was out of state.
Confirmed alibi.
So at least initially he's not a suspect.
Right, initially.
But we all know relationships can be complicated.
Oh, yeah.
Layers and layers.
Right.
So we've got this seemingly peaceful life, this locked house, this eerie crime scene.
And a whole lot of questions.
Let's dive into the theories.
Where do we even begin? Well, the source material lays out 5 main possibilities.
5, each one more unsettling than the last.
Okay, hit me with them.
All right, so we've got the stalker theory.
Okay, with a crust.
Right. Someone fixated on Elise, maybe an admirer who took things too far.
Obsessed.
Right.
Obsessed.
And then there's the ritualistic killing theory.
That's where the red ribbon comes in.
And the white lily.
Exactly like a carefully staged scene.
Those details are so strange.
The red ribbon and the white lily, they keep popping up.
Do we know what they symbolize?
That's the mystery investigators have been trying to crack this code for years.
Is there any connection to a specific belief system?
Well, the red ribbon could symbolize binding control.
Domination. Right. And the white lily often associated with purity mourning.
So a really strange juxtaposition.
It's unsettling. There's no clear link to any known groups or cults in the area.
So maybe a personal ritual.
A chillingly personal touch.
Okay, that's theory number 2. What else have we got?
All right, now this one takes us into the realm of the paranormal.
Ooh, I love a good ghost story.
The supernatural encounter theory.
Lay it on me.
So local legend in Ridgeline speaks of a shadowy entity.
A what?
An entity they call the Watcher.
The Watcher. Okay, I'm already creeped out.
And guess where this Watcher is said to haunt?
Don't tell me the woods where Elise was last seen.
The very same woods.
And remember that sketch?
The shadowy figure.
It does match the descriptions of this Watcher.
Almost exactly.
But is that just a coincidence, or is there something more to this legend?
Well, that's the question, isn't it?
It's hard to dismiss it entirely.
Especially with all the other unexplainable elements of this case.
Right, like how did she just disappear from a locked house?
No trace.
No trace.
And then there's Adam.
The boyfriend?
The boyfriend. Remember, even with the alibi,
Out of state.
relationships can be messy.
Oh, they can be so messy.
Is it possible his alibi isn't as airtight as it seems?
Maybe someone helped him stage it.
Or maybe there's something we don't know about their relationship.
A motive we haven't uncovered.
Exactly, jealousy, rage.
Dark secrets.
Always dark secrets.
Okay, that's 4 theories. We've got one more right.
One more, and it might be the most disturbing one of all.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat.
The copycat killer theory.
Copycat, what does that mean?
This one takes us back to 1992.
Wow, way back.
To an unsolved murder in the neighboring town of Pinewood.
Okay.
The victim, a young woman named Sarah Miller.
What happened to her?
She was found strangled in the woods, her hands bound with a red ribbon.
Wait a minute. A red ribbon?
And a single white lily resting on her chest.
Are you serious? This is almost identical to Elise's case.
Chillingly similar.
So are we saying Elise wasn't the first victim?
She might have been the latest in a series of eerily similar crimes.
But if that's the case, how did they miss this connection?
Well, 16 years is a long time.
That's true.
And investigative techniques have evolved a lot since then.
So what was once a dead end
could now be the key?
Wow, this is getting more and more complex.
This is where the real deep dive begins.
We need to go beyond the surface.
Examine the connections.
Yancher into the darkness.
Right.
And there's one more piece of the puzzle we need to consider.
One that might hold the key to understanding what really happened to Elise.
Mrs. Crane.
Mrs. Crane, her testimony is strange.
Intriguing.
Very intriguing.
We'll have to save that for after a short break. Stay with us. Okay, so we're back, and I have to say, I am really starting to see how these two cases could be connected.
Yeah, the similarities are hard to ignore.
16 years apart.
But those details, the red ribbon, the white lily...
It's chilling.
It really is.
But before we get too deep into the 1992 case...
Sarah Miller?
Yes, Sarah Miller. We need to talk about Mrs. Crane.
Ah, Mrs. Crane.
Her testimony is just so strange.
It is. It adds this whole other layer to the mystery.
Right, because she claimed to have seen a man.
Under Elise's porch light the night she disappeared?
Okay, but there were no other witnesses?
No.
And no security footage.
It's like he was a ghost.
But what makes her testimony so compelling is what she felt.
Not just what she saw, but what she felt.
What do you mean what she felt?
She described this overwhelming sense of wrongness.
Wrongness? Like how?
Like a darkness emanating from him.
Emanating from him just standing there.
He wasn't doing anything suspicious, just standing there motionless.
But she could feel it?
She could feel it, this intuition that something wasn't right.
So a gut feeling.
A gut feeling, but so strong.
But couldn't that just be normal? I mean, wouldn't anyone feel uneasy seeing a stranger lurking around at night?
Maybe, but Mrs. Crane, she had no connection to Elise.
She was just a neighbor.
An observant neighbor, but she fixated on this figure.
Like she couldn't look away.
And she insisted he felt different, off
how?
like a discordant note in an otherwise familiar melody.
Wow. That's a really vivid description.
It is, isn't it?
So are we suggesting she witnessed something supernatural?
Something connected to the legend of the Watcher.
I mean, it's possible, right?
It's possible, we can't rule it out.
But there could also be a more rational explanation.
Sure, maybe he was just good at hiding in the shadows.
Maybe other people saw him but didn't pay attention.
We just don't know.
But it's that feeling she describes, that wrongness.
It's chilling.
It is.
And it makes you wonder, what if intuition is a valid form of perception?
Like we're picking up on things our conscious mind misses.
Subtle cues.
Energies.
Right.
I mean, that's a whole other discussion for another time. But in a case like this, with so many unexplained elements, really does.
So where do we go from here?
Well, I think we need to revisit those 5 theories.
The stalker, the ritual,
Right.
the supernatural, the boyfriend, the copycat?
Exactly. Because they might not be mutually exclusive.
They could be interconnected.
Right. What if the stalker was driven by a belief system that incorporated those ritualistic elements?
Ooh, that's interesting.
Maybe they saw something in Elise's art
Her murals.
that resonated with their own twisted worldview.
Like they misinterpreted the symbolism.
And those symbols, the red ribbon, the white lily, they weren't random.
They were deliberate.
Part of a bigger picture. A twisted logic that we need to decipher.
Exactly, and that's where the real challenge lies.
We're not just solving a crime, we're trying to understand a mind.
A very disturbed mind.
And that brings us back to the copycat theory.
Sarah Miller.
Because if those cases are truly connected,
we're dealing with someone who's been operating for decades.
A killer who's evaded capture all this time.
And potentially claimed more victims than we know of.
So we need to shift our focus to that 1992 case.
Dive into the past.
Uncover the missing pieces.
And maybe, just maybe, we can prevent future tragedies.
From happening again.
That's the hope.
1992.
Sarah Miller.
A young librarian vanished without a trace.
Just like Elise.
And then found murdered.
Those eerie similarities, the red ribbon, the white lily.
It's like a pattern, a blueprint for a nightmare.
It's hard not to see the connection.
But why wasn't it discovered sooner? I mean, 16 years?
Investigative techniques were different back then.
Right. DNA analysis wasn't as advanced.
Exactly. And think about all the databases they have now.
Criminal profiles, geographical profiling.
They can connect the dots in ways they couldn't back then.
So maybe there's a piece of evidence from Sarah's case.
A fingerprint, a hair fiber.
That could be re-examined with today's technology.
And potentially link the two cases?
Or even point to a suspect.
It's possible.
It's like we're looking for a needle in a haystack.
But sometimes all it takes is that one tiny piece.
To unravel the whole mystery.
Exactly.
But let's focus on what we do know. Those symbols. the red ribbon and the white lily.
The killer's signature.
What do they mean? What's the message?
We need to think like the killer.
Get inside their head.
The red ribbon could symbolize control, domination.
Binding the victim.
And the white lily.
Purity, innocence.
Maybe a twisted form of tribute.
Or a way of mocking the victims.
Or maybe it's something else entirely.
A personal symbol. A memory.
Something only the killer understands.
It's chilling to think about.
It is.
But if those symbols are the key to understanding the killer's mind...
And maybe someone out there recognizes them.
Someone who knows the killer or suspects something.
That's the hope.
So if you're listening to this and you have any information...
Anything at all.
No matter how small it seems...
Please contact the authorities.
It could be the missing piece of the puzzle.
The one that brings justice for Elise and Sarah.
And maybe even prevents another tragedy.
Exactly.
These cases are more than just stories. They're real lives cut short.
Families left with unanswered questions.
And they deserve answers.
They do.
But this case also forces us to confront the darker side of human nature.
The capacity for evil that exists within us all.
It's a reminder that darkness can lurk in unexpected places.
Even in a picturesque mountain town like Ridgeline.
Elise's whispered plea for help on that 911 call.
Haunting.
It's a reminder that we can't give up hope.
We have to keep searching for answers.
For Elise, for Sarah, and for all the victims of unsolved crimes.
Their voices deserve to be heard.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the mystery of the Midnight Caller.
Keep asking questions, keep the conversation going.
Because sometimes a single voice can make all the difference.